طيب الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. The topic I'm actually going to speak about today is a topic that's really beautiful, and it's really, for me, it was very impactful just reflecting on it. The Prophet ﷺ, he entered upon Mecca after being expelled, debased there, rejected there for 13 years. He came back 8 years later as a conqueror, as a victor. And he came in, and his companions came with him, 10,000 companions. They came to Mecca, returned there after all being expelled from there. One companion entered into the courtyard of the Haram. And as he entered into the courtyard, he entered at the Kaaba, and he began to climb. And as he stood and climbed the Kaaba, and stood on top of the Kaaba, with the holiest of holies, with the most sacred institution that they had ever known, the political symbol of that community, the most revered structure in their minds, at his feet, he began to proclaim, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You guys know who that was? It's Bilal. Now, people were inside their houses, mushrikeen. They were inside their houses, and they were watching Bilal ibn Rabah on top of the Kaaba, and they were hearing him. And so the narrations say that they said, Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah, who allowed for our parents to pass away before a black man would be standing on top of the Kaaba. That's what they said. Now, when I think about this moment and I just imagine it, Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu, I think to myself, how did he go through that transformation where he had been a person who grew up in the city of Mecca, where for all intents and purposes, he was told that he was worth absolutely zero. He could have been killed at any moment in Mecca and no one would have batted an eye. No human rights activists would have clamored over the death of Bilal. No one would have cared. He was a foreigner amongst that community. He was black, and who knows what insults he must have heard growing up his entire life. He may have spoken with a very thick accent. Allah knows best, it's very possible that he spoke with a very thick accent in that community. So where did he get this incredible amount of confidence in himself, this incredible amount of self-worth, where he would be able to walk into that very same community and stand on their greatest and most sacred sanctuary and call Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar? And so when I was reflecting on that, because obviously it's a position that many of us are familiar with. You're the foreigner. You're a little bit weird. You're the one who speaks with an accent. You may be the person who people look at, and your blood is a little bit cheaper than everybody else's. Your dignity is a little bit worth or cheaper than everybody else's. Right? So how did the Prophet ﷺ induce in these companions this incredible izzah, honor, dignity, self-worth? That's what we're going to be looking at today, inshallah ta'ala. Could I get a napkin, please? So, the first thing we're going to look at is a statement that the Prophet ﷺ made. And it's a marvelous hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he stood in front of his companions, and he said, لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تدابروا ولا تباغضوا وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا. He said, don't hate one another, don't envy one another, don't undercut one another, don't turn your backs on one another, and be the servants of Allah all together as brothers. Al-Muslim, Akhul Muslim. The Muslim is the brother of the Muslim. Every single one, I'm just passing through these phrases, but every single one of these phrases is deep. He says, the Muslim is the brother of the Muslim. لا يظلمه. He doesn't oppress him. ولا يكذبه. He doesn't lie to him. ولا يحقره. And he doesn't belittle him. ولا يسلمه. And he doesn't surrender him. التقوى ها هنا. The Prophet ﷺ points to his chest and he says, taqwa is here. And then he says, بحسب امرئ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه المسلم. It is enough of an evil that a person belittles his Muslim brother. Okay? A person belittles his Muslim brother. So this concept of belittling, he mentions twice in the same hadith. He says, وَلَا يَحْقِرُهُ. He doesn't belittle him. And then he says, it is enough of an evil that a Muslim belittles his Muslim brother. What does that mean? It means today, when you're looking at the end of the day, your day's winded down, you're at home, you're laying in bed, and you're thinking to yourself about your day. And you're like, man, I had a really good day today. I prayed Jum'ah. I prayed my 5. I didn't rob any cars. I didn't do any, like, you're just counting your pros and cons, and you're like, man, today was a good day. The Prophet ﷺ says, if the only thing you did, بِحَسْبِ امْرِئٍ مِّنَ الشَّرِّ أَيَحْقِرَ خَالَ الْمُسْلِمِ, if the only thing that you did was that today, when you're looking at the face of your brother, you said, man, you're ugly. The only thing you did is when you're speaking to your sister, is you're like, oh, there's an earthquake coming through. The only thing that you did is that you looked at your friend who is short and you said, how's the weather down there? Your friend who's tall, how's the weather up there? 4 eyes. All of these insults that we hurl at each other without even thinking about it. Without even thinking about it. The Prophet ﷺ says, if that's the only thing that you did, is you called somebody stupid, is that you insulted a person because of this, if that you insulted a person because of that, then that is enough of an evil for you today. Why? Because the Muslim doesn't belittle his Muslim brother and sister. So, you will find that one of the main ingredients that the Prophet ﷺ used to raise a generation of companions who were very confident in themselves is that he simply removed from them this concept of belittling each other. The Prophet ﷺ would not allow for a Muslim to be belittled in his presence. Period. What are some of the reasons why a person is belittled? You tell me. What are some of the reasons why a person is belittled?
Jealousy.
Okay, jealousy. What else? What are like the causes? Why is a person made fun of or belittled?
Difference.
What type of difference?
Race, ethnicity.
Great. That's a really easy one. Race, ethnicity. That's the most obvious. First thing you see about a person is their color. People make fun of each other because of their color, because of their ethnicity. So, that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Abu Dhar. Abu Dhar caught up to the Prophet ﷺ. He accepted Islam early. The Prophet ﷺ sent him to go and live amongst his community until the Prophet ﷺ called for him. So he came late. He came at the 7th year of the Hijrah, after the conquest of Khaybar. So he was relatively new to the culture of the Muslims. Even though he was a Muslim, he was still, for years, but he wasn't living in the society of Medina. So he wasn't familiar, he wasn't refined. And so Bilal is there. And Abu Dhar calls out to Bilal ibn Rabah, and he says, Ya ibn as-Sawda, O son of a black woman. O son of the black woman, come. Now, is Abu Dhar lying? Is Bilal the son of a black woman? Yes or no? Yes. He's not, people are like, oh, I'm not lying. It's the truth. They are that. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't giggle when Abu Dhar called him that. He didn't laugh along with him. There was no mujamala there. The Prophet ﷺ says to him, to Abu Dhar, he says, أَعَيَرْتَهُ بِأُمِّهِ, are you blaming him due to who his mother is? إِنَّكَ مْرِئٍ فِيكَ جَاهِلِيَّةٌ. You are a person who has in you ignorance. That statement is a statement of ignorance. For you to blame someone, for you to mock someone, for you to insult someone because of who their mother is or their father is. And so that is a statement of ignorance declared by the Prophet ﷺ. Anytime you refer to a person, even if it's true, yes, they're black, yes, they're white, yes, they're Asian, yes, they're from this country. But if you do it in a mocking sense, then it becomes a statement of ignorance. And the Prophet ﷺ completely and totally rejected that. Abu Dhar didn't become arrogant. He didn't say, well, Ya Rasulullah, he is the son of a black woman. Ya Rasulullah, this and this. Abu Dhar places his cheek on the ground. And he says to Bilal, step on my face. Immediately. Step on my face. If what I have said is going to cause for me to be corrected by the Prophet ﷺ. Right? And Bilal, of course, didn't step on his face. Bilal lifted him up and forgave him. But the point being is that the Prophet ﷺ rejected that. What's another reason why people are belittled?
Status.
Because of their status. Because of their socio-economic status. Right? Because of whether they have money or whether they don't have money. That's the arrogance of Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl was so arrogant that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was a young shepherd boy in Medina. He was in Mecca. He was the sixth person to accept Islam. He was very young. And when he accepted Islam, he grew up he was one of the Muslims that didn't have any tribal backing. So he was a young shepherd. He accepted Islam. Later on in the Battle of Badr, Abu Jahl is on the throes of death. He's on the battlefield. And he's literally about to die. So Ibn Mas'ud steps on his chest. And so Abu Jahl says to him, even in his throes of death, he's about to be killed and finished off by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. He says, لَقَدْ ارْتَقَيْتَ مِصْعَدًا صَعَبًا يَا رُوَيْعِيَ الْغَنَمِ. He says to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he's like, you've ascended to a high place, you little shepherd boy. Right? And it's like, this guy's about to kill you. And even in that moment, you're arrogant. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was described as being very small in his stature. Physically, he was very skinny and he was very short. It was said about Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that when he was standing up, he was the same height as Umar ibn Khattab when Umar was sitting down. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was, no socioeconomic status. Physically, he was not imposing at all. The Prophet ﷺ has him climbing a tree. And he's climbing a tree to get something, to do something. And the wind begins to blow. And when the wind is blowing, the Sahaba see the legs of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And they do what guys do. They start pointing and they start laughing. His legs were so skinny. Now, the person with skinny legs, they're being laughed at. You have no idea how insecure they may feel about those legs. The person who's skinny may feel incredibly insecure about their thinness. The person who's overweight may feel insecure about that. The person who's tall may feel insecure about their height. The person who's short may feel insecure about that as well. Right? You don't know where people's insecurities lie. So just because you feel secure about whatever that issue is, right? Or just because you don't have that issue doesn't mean that you can comment freely about someone who's going through that. And so the Prophet ﷺ, how beautiful a murabbi he is. He says, أَتَضْحَكُونَ مِنْ دِقَّةِ سَاقَيْهِ. Are you laughing due to how skinny Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's legs are? You're laughing at how skinny his legs are? And then he says, by Allah, those legs on the day of judgment are going to outweigh the mountain of Uhud. And you read that and you're just like, subhanAllah.